The X factor for this offense is Andrej Karic. We'll do the X factor defensively tomorrow. That could be a bunch of names. But if Andrej Karic goes from average to good, which he was average last year, as a transfer, he should have been better. If he takes to the offseason and he's better, then it makes Tennessee a lot deeper. You don't have to push Jackson Lampley or Shamarad Umarov into duty. And you have a position that is better than last year. The X factor is Andrej Karic. And I call him the X factor because I'm not even 100% sure he's going to start, Caleb.
I'm having a hard time arguing with you on the X factor because I think Andrej Karic, if he's good, that totally changes the complexion of Tennessee. I'm going to go a little bit different, though. And I'm going to throw two other names at you, and you tell me if I'm crazy. One, there's no X factors at receiver, right? Because they're so loaded at receiver that they have options, right?
Yes. I mean, if there's an X factor, it's Mike Matthews because he suddenly explodes onto the scene. But you kind of think that'll happen anyway. So
yes, we know about Nico Iamaleava. I mean, he's the most important player, guys. We don't have to be like, he's the X factor. We get it with Nico. The X factor is a guy who we don't know what he's going to turn out to be like. He's the
has upside.
But has upside. He's the Horace Grant of the crew, right? With the Bulls. Whereas we knew what Michael and Scotty brought.
That's a good comparison. I mean, this guy's had two big-time schools offer him a scholarship. So apparently he's played good football on film somewhere. We just haven't seen it here.
Exactly. So I can't argue with Andrej Karic, but I'm going to go two other names. One, no, maybe it's not X factor because maybe they already expect him to be good, but Lance Hurd at left tackle. There are questions on whether or not he'll pick up the offense quickly, right?
Yes, I think that is a very fair X factor question. And I think that sometimes we have been guilty of just saying he's going to step in and be a star, but we did the same thing with Andrej Karic last year. And what happened with that?
Yeah, that became a big issue. I mean, Andrej Karic completely collapsed. I wouldn't say collapsed, but he was an issue. What about this? Here's another one, and it's not on the offensive line, interestingly enough. And guys, we're just talking about the X factor on offense. I guess we should have been clear about that, right?
Yes, we'll do defense tomorrow. What
about what I've been saying for a long time, Peyton Lewis? Because I keep maintaining I don't think Tennessee has a feature back. And and when I say feature back, the feature back doesn't have to be elite. The feature back has to be serviceable. I don't think any of their other running backs are serviceable enough to be feature backs. Dylan Sampson can't pass, bro. Cam Seldon has terrible vision. Khalifa Keith is too slow.
I think it's one of those two. I think it's Lewis or Karic. I don't think there's anybody else that even is in that ballpark.
So you don't think Lance Hurd's in the ballpark?
I think Lance Hurd's a tier down from those two. I mean, those two would be my big time questions. I think Lance Hurd is going to be good enough from all I've heard that I don't have as much of a question about him. But listen, all these guys are to some extent X factors. I mean, we think Nico's going to be really good, but we don't know that. Other potential X factors, I remind you that we are absolutely loving Banks and Jones. Banks and Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, play to win. Other lawyers say they'll go to trial. They won't. Banks and Jones. What other X factors are out there? We discussed with Caleb Calhoun. Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks and Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks and Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks and Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. If you had to put Josh Heupel on the stand with T. Scott Jones, and he asked this question, and he has to be honest, who do you have more faith in, running back Peyton Lewis or offensive guard Andrej Karic to take a step this year? Who would it be?
I think it actually would be on Peyton Lewis. I think Josh Heupel wants Peyton Lewis to work out really badly.
That's not That's not good. I mean, you would rather the offensive guard that's been in the system be a factor than a freshman, Caleb.
I agree, but I think he's more hope with Andrej Karic. I just don't think he has I don't think he's that confident. I think he's just hopeful at this point. I think he was very disappointed with Karic's play last year. Now, okay, let me be fair to Andrej Karic. This offense is different. It's so tempo based. You may not pick it up in a year. But if that's the case, then Lance Hurd's a concern, isn't he?
Yeah, just being in shape, I think, is the greatest challenge. I mean, you can't simulate that. I talked to Cooper Mays about that, and he said the week after he came back from the abdominal surgery, yeah, there's just no way to simulate that. And you're going to try to simulate it as best you can, but Lance Hurd hasn't done a lot of work in the offseason, and that's on him, then he's not going to be conditionally ready. But if Andrej Karic wasn't ready from a conditioning standpoint, in most every offense, I would say that's the young man's fault. In this particular case, I'll give a pass for a year because of the tempo of it. And I think that's tough to simulate. Let's not forget, when all that adrenaline gets pumping in a game, there's a lot of energy that you will expend that you don't in practice. But as far as the X factors, I think it's Keurig and Lewis. And if it's not Lewis, then I guess it would have to be Cam Seldon at some point in the season, right?
Yes. So we both agree. We both are writing off Sampson. He can't be a feature back, right?
Well, I'm not completely there yet because I think this offense can change and become even more horizontal than it is with him.
Yeah, it's the thing with Sampson is he's Alvin Kamara without the pass pro. That's kind of my issue with Sampson. It's like, because people keep comparing him to Alvin Kamara, but Alvin Kamara had about 20 more pounds on Sampson and was as athletic. And so I think that's kind of the problem.
Yeah, was Alvin Kamara a great pass protector, though?
He was good enough. And in that offense, you needed it to be because the release by Josh Dobbs didn't have the quickest release. That was not his forte. So he had to be able to pick up pass pro. It was one of the reasons, maybe you could tell me I'm crazy, but it was one of the reasons I sometimes defended starting Jalen Hurd over Alvin Kamara. I don't think it's just because Butch Jones made promises to Jalen Hurd. I think there was some physical things Jalen Hurd could do that Alvin Kamara couldn't. And honestly, Jalen Hurd, as the workhorse back, allowed Kamara to be such an elite, flashy back.